Hey there, my name is AJ Pickett and I make videos about role-playing games, and lots of them. I upload twice a week with a live stream every weekend. You can find me on Subscribestar, Patreon, and Discord, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, there is an option to join the channel as a member, and I welcome any questions you have in the comments section below, including suggestions for future videos. If you like this video or this channel, hit that like button if you would be so kind. As many of you know, I am a New Zealander, that mystical place drifting out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, about as far from Walmart as it's possible to get. The beauty here is so insufferably constant and intense, I have to make videos about monsters just to resist bursting apart in a cloud of pure bliss. There are a few myths and legends about my fair country. One of them is that the sheep here outnumber the humans 10 to 1. That's not actually true. The number of sheep has been in steady decline over the past decade due to a high number of dairy farms. So currently there are around 26.5 million sheep and 4.8 million humans, so it's close to 5 sheep per person in the country. Since 1/3 of our entire population lives in Auckland City on the North Island, that means either there are enormous numbers of sheep for just a few individuals outside the cities, or there are great numbers of sheep unaccounted for, just wandering the land up to no good. And this brings us to today's weird and ridiculous monster from Dungeons & Dragons history, found in the Not Necessarily the Monstrous Compendium article printed in the 4th of April 1990 issue 156 of Dragon Magazine. It was actually a toss-up between this monster and the Blink Mammoth, but I can't toss a Blink Mammoth, they are huge. The Death Sheep is less about how ridiculous a crazed evil meat-eating sheep monster is, and more about how serious the consequences are from being attacked and bitten by one. A death sheep is fairly unpleasant in and of itself. From a distance, they do appear as an ordinary flock of 2 to 20 sheep, certainly a bit more dirty, and none of them seem to pause to eat any grass. They just move along the landscape, feral-like. And it's not until they get closer that you begin to suspect that something is very wrong with these sheep. Very, very wrong. It might be the dark red slick of bloody gore coating the front of their wool like gruesome bibs, or the feral glare as they stare right at you, or the dark green foul drool that drips from their mouths, or the long, sharp black fangs that are exposed as they draw back their lips and snarl, getting closer and closer to their prey. These were normal sheep once, but now instead of roaming the verdant hillsides munching on the lush grass, they instead ravage anything in their path. Their ferociousness is so intense, they gain advantage on all their attack rolls and are totally immune to fear, charm, and hold spells. They don't kick or charge head first, they bite savagely, with jaws enlarged and filled with long black fangs capable of inflicting 2d4+2 slashing damage. Any living creature bitten by the death sheep must roll a constitution saving throw. A virulent and supernatural disease may be transferred with that bite, and unless the victim is cured of it within 1 to 10 days... The details of this disease are interesting. A person who has seen the ravages of this pathogen at work before will know that the amount of hours it takes for the first sign of infection appearing is a direct indicator of how long it will take for the disease to take its full effect. The first symptom is a blackening discoloration of the gums, which starts to spread into the teeth, and from that below the gum line, an oozing fluid begins to seep out, smelling horrible, and this coats the teeth, binds to them, and creates these elongated and very strong fangs made from a crystalline black substance. The whole jaw swells as the infection courses through the body. The victim suffers from horrible pain, fever, and hallucinations, can't sleep, and gradually goes insane. This can be quite rapid, but rarely takes more than just over a week. You may want to roll 1d10 to determine the time it takes, and for player characters, add their constitution bonus to the number of days they have. The reason why you might do that is to give them a chance to get the cure. The way most diseases work in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is the victim gets an initial saving throw to try and avoid contracting the disease. For Death Sheep disease, if the victim is at full hit points, this is merely a 10 or higher, adding the character's constitution bonus. However, if they are at half their full hit points, but still higher than the 1/4 of their full hit points, they save at a difficulty class of 15. And if they're in that final quarter of their hit points, the DC is 18. Another reason the time it takes for the disease to spread through the victim is important is that this is also critical to the amount of time that a cure is possible. In order to cure the disease fully, the spells Protection from Poison, Lesser Restoration, and Remove Curse must all be cast on the victim before half of the time the spread of the disease will take has elapsed. Any of these 3 spells cast singly only slows down the progress of the disease by 1 day without the other spells cast as well. There are other magical cures. A potion of vitality will cure an individual, as will an elixir of health, and a periapt of health, worn by the victim, will halt the progress of the disease from the moment that it's put on. But if more than half that spread time has passed, the victim better be looking for a potion of vitality or an elixir of health to save them, because the effects of the disease are fatal. The reason it is carried by and spread by sheep is that, for some reason, they are the only animals that seem able to survive the full-blown effects of the disease. Any other creature will run around on a meat-crazed biting frenzy for a further 1d10 days and then suffer 14d6 necrotic damage each day until they eventually, or very quickly and horribly, die. Those who don't know that the crazy sheep are the sources of this pathogen, as victims will also spread it from their virulent bites, will probably call it the Black Fang Plague or Demon-Kissed Madness or some such. The blackening of the gums of the victim will also be evident on fresh corpses left by the rampaging sheep, as the disease will take hold and begin its effects even in a freshly deceased body. So someone familiar with this supernatural pathogen have a good chance of discovering it if they know what they're looking for and just what to look for. It's fairly common to check the mouth of a victim to see if they were poisoned anyway. For someone trained in criminal investigation, for instance, anyone who has worked in service to noble families and royalty, as well as acolytes and apprentices to high-level priests and wizards. Oh, and assassins, of course. If the death sheep are active in an area for a few days, diseased and crazy animals of all descriptions will begin to alarm the local people greatly. This is pets and livestock. Any creature consumed by the disease can't be tamed and controlled in any fashion. Such creatures can be captured and penned up, but they will almost always die, unless they're sheep. It may be that those that know about this disease will tie up an infected animal or person for release later. A favourite battle tactic of one evil hobgoblin general was to capture several of these sheep, place them in boxed carts and release them in the direction of his enemies. It worked well until one sheep turned around and looked back. Then things got a little sticky. Death sheep typically travel in flocks, woe to the unwary wolf, and eat animal flesh, be it fresh or rotten. For some reason they never attack each other, and the disease will only spread among mammals. So birds, reptiles, drakes, lizard folk and troglodytes are immune to the poisonous bite of the death sheep. Dragonborn and tritons are not. Just heading off any speculation there. It is speculated that the death sheep are the product of some mage's experiments with rabies. Of course, it's always speculated the wizards are up to no good, and rumours hold that one particularly ambitious death sheep named Basil is their leader. Please hit the like button if you've always had your suspicions about Basil the Ram. Subscribe if you like what I do. Check out my Subscribestar or Patreon links for all the full scripts for these videos. Buy some Teespring merchandise from my shop. Wear your geek with pride, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more weird monsters from D&D history and some contemporary oddities for you very soon.